Patricia and Karen were completely different, and everyone in their family knew it. Patricia, the older sister, was practical and hardworking. She spent most of her time drawing designs, making plans, and chasing her dream of becoming a top graphic designer. Karen, on the other hand, was full of energy and loved being the center of attention. Her cheerful personality and love for everything stylish made her a favorite among their parents and friends. While Patricia liked quiet nights with her sketchbook, Karen was always busy posting new fashion finds and perfect selfies to her growing social media fans. Their childhood home in Las Vegas, a small but cozy house, was always lively. But it was clear that most of the attention went to Karen. Whether it was her dance performances or the latest outfit she wanted, their parents always rushed to make her happy. Patricia often felt invisible. Her hard work was noticed, but quickly forgotten compared to Karen's endless needs. Their father would say, "You're so responsible, Patricia," like her independence was just a weight off their shoulders instead of something to be proud of. Meanwhile, Karen's ability to light up a room seemed to win her more than just praise. It won her silent favoritism. Birthdays and holidays made their differences even clearer. Karen would get fancy gifts that matched her interests, designer handbags, the newest gadgets, or tickets to big events. Patricia usually got practical gifts, like cash or tools for her career. She appreciated them, but couldn't help feeling her presence lacked the excitement that surrounded Karen's. Their mother would often say, "You've always been so sensible, Patricia. You understand, right?" And Patricia tried to understand. While she worked hard for everything she achieved, Karen seemed to glide through life without much effort. As Karen's fame online grew, so did their parents' admiration for her. Patricia didn't feel jealous exactly. She just quietly wished for the same kind of excitement and pride from her family. She wasn't asking for big gifts or loud praise. She just wanted her hard work to feel as important as Karen's sparkle. This was the way things always were: Karen, the shining star, and Patricia, the steady shadow. But as they grew up, the small cracks in their family began to grow wider, setting the stage for challenges that would test their bond and change their lives forever. Patricia and Karen grew up in the same house, but their lives were like two different stories. Patricia, the older sister, loved having a plan and staying focused even when she was very young. She could spend hours at her desk, drawing designs or reading books about art and creativity. Karen, on the other hand, was full of energy and loved being the center of attention. She quickly learned how to make every situation work in her favor. Certain moments from their childhood showed just how different they were. One Christmas, for example, Patricia had spent months saving her allowance to buy new art supplies. When Christmas morning came, she was thrilled to open a professional sketch pad, something she had really wanted. But before she could even thank her parents, Karen had already ripped through her huge pile of gifts, screaming with excitement over a brand new iPhone and a designer handbag. Their parents looked so proud, smiling at Karen as she showed off her presents. No one really noticed Patricia quietly flipping through the blank pages of her sketch pad. "It's perfect," Patricia said softly, but no one heard her. Patricia's serious way of thinking often confused her parents. One time, her grandparents gave her some birthday money, and her father asked, "What are you going to buy with it, Patricia?" "I'm saving for a new laptop," she answered proudly. Her father smiled, but his voice sounded a little surprised. "A laptop? Most kids would buy something fun." "I'd rather get something useful," Patricia said. But her father's small shrug told her he didn't really understand. Karen's way of living was the complete opposite. She lived in the moment and didn't worry about saving. She would sweetly ask, "Mom, have you seen the new limited edition sneakers? Everyone at school has them." And without thinking twice, their parents would say yes. Patricia noticed the pattern. Karen never had to save or wait for anything she wanted. It was always given to her right away, no questions asked. Meanwhile, Patricia's hard work was barely noticed. When she finally saved up enough money to buy her laptop, her family just gave a quick smile. "That's nice, dear," her mother said, before quickly changing the topic back to Karen's latest shopping trip. As they got older, the gap between them grew even wider. Karen became a star in school and on social media. Her selfies and posts were full of likes and comments, which only made her even more confident. Karen was always trying new hairstyles, trendy clothes, and flashy accessories. Their parents loved her boldness and creativity and always encouraged her, without worrying too much about where it might lead. Patricia, meanwhile, stayed focused on her goals. While Karen was out with friends or scrolling through social media, Patricia was either at the library or in her room, working on her designs and planning her future. Patricia didn't hate her sister's carefree life. It just wasn't her style. But it did hurt when her hard work was often ignored because Karen's charm stole the spotlight. One report card day showed this clearly. Patricia had gotten top grades in every subject, and she even had an acceptance letter for a special summer art program tucked in her backpack, excited to show her parents. But when she got home, Karen was already getting all the attention. Even though Karen's grades were just average, their parents didn't seem upset. Instead, they comforted her. "Sweetheart, don't worry," their mother said, brushing Karen's hair. "You're talented in so many other ways. Grades aren't everything." "Exactly, princess," their father added. "You have so much going for you." Patricia stood there in the doorway, holding her report card and acceptance letter, wondering if anyone would notice. When she finally handed them over, her parents gave them a quick glance. "Good job, Patricia. We're proud of you," her mother said without much feeling, then quickly went back to paying attention to Karen. Moments like these became normal in their family. Karen was the favorite, always in the spotlight, while Patricia worked quietly in the background, building a future no one really seemed to notice. Getting accepted into a top art school in Las Vegas was one of the happiest moments of Patricia's life. She had worked so hard, staying up late writing essays, applying for scholarships, and studying for exams. She had earned a full scholarship, and for the first time, she felt like all her hard work had paid off. Excited, she rushed into the kitchen waving her acceptance letter. But her mother barely looked up as she helped Karen apply eyeliner. "That's nice, Patricia." "Karen, hold still, I need to get this line perfect," her mother said. Her father looked over the top of his newspaper and gave a small smile. "Good job, kiddo.
We knew you could do it," he said.
The lack of excitement hurt, but Patricia was used to it. She went back to her room, holding the acceptance letter tightly, and quietly promised herself that college would be her time to finally shine, even if her family didn't seem to care. College turned out to be everything Patricia had dreamed of, and even more. At college, Patricia was finally surrounded by people who thought like her. Everyone there valued hard work and creativity. Her teachers praised her creative designs, and her classmates often came to her for advice. Even though she was handling a full schedule, working part-time jobs, and managing tough projects, Patricia did really well. Every success, like a great presentation, getting her scholarship renewed, or getting a good internship offer, felt like a big win that she had earned all by herself. Meanwhile, back home, Karen's life stayed easy. After barely finishing high school, she announced she would not go to college. Instead, she wanted to explore creative opportunities. Their parents supported her completely, cheering her on. "College isn't for everyone," their mother said with a kind smile. "You're so talented in other ways, Karen. You'll find your path." Patricia found out about Karen's new plans during a phone call one night. "I'm thinking about taking some social media courses," Karen said, full of excitement. "Mom and Dad think it's a great idea." Patricia had her own exciting news. She had just gotten a top summer internship at a famous design company. But she knew Karen wouldn't really care. "That's great, Karen," Patricia said instead, hiding her feelings. As time passed, the difference between their lives became even clearer. Patricia focused fully on her studies and building her career. Karen, however, jumped from one idea to another. She tried beauty courses, started doing online influencing, and even began a fashion blog, but none of her projects lasted long. Still, their parents always cheered Karen on without question. Whenever Patricia visited home, she brought back stories of her successes, like the time she won first place in a statewide design competition. But her parents always gave small reactions. "That's nice, Patricia," her mother would say before quickly changing the topic to Karen's latest photo shoot or social media post. One day during a visit, Patricia overheard a conversation that confirmed what she had always felt. Karen is so full of life, her mother told a family friend proudly. She's our little star. And Patricia, well, she's dependable, which is good in its own way. Hearing that felt like a punch to the stomach, but Patricia didn't let it show. She had already learned that she couldn't count on her family's support. Instead, she focused all her energy on proving her worth to herself and to the world. By the time graduation came, Patricia had achieved more than she had ever dreamed. She walked across the stage with honors, her portfolio full of awards, and a job offer from one of the best design firms in Las Vegas. Her parents came to the ceremony, but they spent more time taking selfies with Karen than celebrating Patricia's big moment. Still, as Patricia looked out at the cheering crowd, she felt a deep sense of pride that no one could take away. She had made it, not because of her family's support, but despite not having it. Her college years showed her strength and hard work. It was a chapter in her life that proved she could create her own path, no matter what challenges came her way. Patricia's move from college to working life was smooth because of her strong work ethic and the amazing work in her portfolio. Getting a job at one of Las Vegas's best design firms was a dream come true. But Patricia didn't stop there. She was determined to prove herself even more. She worked harder than anyone else in the office, often staying late to perfect her projects. Her hard work and creativity were noticed. In less than a year, she was promoted to team leader, a big achievement that set her apart from others. It was a proud moment for Patricia, and she wanted to celebrate it in her own way. She decided to host a small housewarming party in her new apartment, which she had finally rented after years of saving. The apartment wasn't fancy, but every detail showed her taste and effort, from the carefully chosen decorations to the simple but beautiful table setup. On the day of the party, Patricia's co-workers arrived first. They brought thoughtful gifts and shared real words of congratulations. They admired her apartment and praised her success, making Patricia feel truly proud of how far she had come. For the first time, she felt like she was surrounded by people who really appreciated her. Then, her family arrived. Her parents and Karen came in loudly, bringing their usual energy and drama. Karen, wearing a designer outfit, looked around the apartment with a judging eye. "It's cute," she said, her voice filled with fake kindness. Patricia forced a smile, determined not to let Karen's comment ruin her night. As the evening went on, it became clear that nothing had changed. The same patterns from childhood were still there. Every time one of Patricia's coworkers congratulated her on her promotion or complimented her apartment, her parents would quickly change the topic to Karen. "Oh, did Patricia tell you about Karen's latest modeling job?" her mother interrupted during one of the conversations. "She's so photogenic. It's like the camera loves her," her father added. "Karen was born for the spotlight. Such natural talent," he said proudly. Karen, of course, loved the attention. She giggled and pretended to be shy. "Oh, stop it, Mom and Dad," she said, but her big smile showed she was enjoying every second. Patricia's coworkers gave each other awkward looks, clearly confused by how her family was acting. One of them, Kathleen, tried to bring the focus back to Patricia. "Your promotion is such a big deal, Patricia," she said warmly. "You're a natural leader." But before Patricia could even answer, her mother interrupted again. "Speaking of big deals, Karen was just invited to an exclusive gala next weekend. Isn't that exciting?" The way Karen kept getting all the attention was nonstop. By the end of the night, Patricia felt like her achievements had been completely pushed aside at her own celebration. Her coworkers, noticing how she felt, tried to cheer her up as they were leaving. "You've done something amazing here, Patricia," Kathleen said with a kind smile. "Don't let anyone take that away from you." After the last guest left, Patricia stood alone in her apartment, surrounded by empty glasses and used napkins. She felt both proud and frustrated. She had built her life step by step with hard work, but it seemed like her family still couldn't, or wouldn't, see her success for what it really was. The housewarming party wasn't just supposed to be about the new apartment. For Patricia, it was meant to be a moment where all her sacrifices were finally recognized. Instead, It became another reminder of the family patterns she had tried so hard to move past. In the weeks that followed, Patricia threw herself even harder into her work. She knew now that she couldn't count on her family for support or recognition. So she focused on building the life she wanted, completely on her own terms. Her hard work paid off. A few months later, she got promoted again, this time becoming the youngest department head in the company's history. When the announcement was made, her boss, Mr. Mark, called her into his office. "Patricia, your work has been outstanding," he said with a proud smile. "You haven't just met our expectations. You've gone far beyond them. That's why we're offering you a spot in our employee housing program. You'll be able to buy your own apartment at a big discount." Patricia was overwhelmed with gratitude. After so many years of sacrifice and hard work, she was finally seeing her dreams come true. Signing the papers for her very own apartment felt like a dream she had worked so hard to reach. This time, though, Patricia decided not to throw a party. She had learned something important. Her family wasn't able to celebrate her success in the way she needed them to. Instead of having a big party, Patricia invited a small group of close coworkers for a quiet dinner. As they sat around her new dining table, raising their glasses to celebrate her success, Patricia felt truly happy. Her success was no longer about proving anything to her family. It was about proving to herself that she could build a life she was proud of, a life that no amount of favoritism or being overlooked could take away. Meanwhile, Karen's life seemed to reach its highest point when she announced she was getting engaged to Kevin, a rich and powerful businessman from an important family. The news brought huge excitement at home. Their parents were glowing with pride. "He's everything a parent could hope for," their mother said, already dreaming about the fancy wedding. Patricia stood quietly in the background, offering her congratulations, but her words were lost in the endless talk about dresses, venues, and guest lists. The wedding was huge, a grand event held at one of Las Vegas's most expensive hotels. Karen looked stunning in her designer dress, the perfect bride that everyone adored. Their parents proudly introduced themselves to every guest, acting like Karen's wedding was the best thing they had ever achieved. Patricia felt out of place among all the glitter and noise. As she stood in a corner sipping champagne, she wondered if any of her achievements would ever get such a celebration. Her promotions, her hard work, her new apartment, none of it seemed to matter as much as Karen's big day. After the wedding, Karen's life continued to be like a dream. Kevin spoiled her with expensive gifts, luxury vacations, and endless shopping sprees. Karen's social media was filled with pictures of her glamorous life, sparkling jewelry, designer clothes, and fancy parties with Las Vegas's richest people. Their parents kept praising her. "Karen is living the dream," their father often said while looking at her latest posts. Meanwhile, Patricia found it harder and harder to feel connected to her family. Every time she called home, all they talked about was Karen's life. There was never much room to talk about Patricia's own achievements. "You should learn from your sister," her mother joked once. "She really knows how to enjoy life." But Patricia didn't want Karen's life. While Karen loved luxury and attention, Patricia felt proud of her independence and everything she had earned through hard work. Still, the constant comparisons and being overlooked started to weigh heavily on her. Not wanting her family's favoritism to define her, Patricia pushed herself even harder at work. She focused on her career, climbing higher in her company and earning respect from co-workers who saw her for who she truly was, a talented and hardworking professional. Patricia knew her path wasn't flashy or full of luxury, but it was her own, and that was what mattered most. Karen's perfect-looking life fell apart one ordinary Friday morning. Patricia got a panicked call from her mother, whose voice was shaking. "Ashley, it's Karen," her mother cried. Kevin left her. He called her shallow and said she only cares about spending his money. He even said he thinks she's stupid. Patricia froze. She felt shocked, worried, and, if she was being honest, a small feeling of satisfaction. But she quickly pushed that feeling away. "I'll come over," she said, grabbing her car keys. When Patricia arrived at her parents' house, it was complete chaos. Karen was in the living room, her mascara running down her cheeks, her expensive clothes messy and wrinkled. She kept switching between crying uncontrollably and throwing anything she could grab, vases, pillows, even picture frames. "He can't do this to me," she screamed. "I'm Karen. I'm perfect. How dare he?" Their parents rushed around her, trying to calm her down. "Sweetie, please," their mother begged. "We'll fix this." "I'll buy you a new dress, princess, anything you want," their father added. Patricia stood quietly in the doorway, watching it all like an outsider. She didn't feel like she belonged there anymore. As days passed, Karen's tantrums only got worse. She demanded expensive gifts to make herself feel better, and their parents, desperate to see her happy again, gave her whatever she asked for. One evening, after yet another meltdown, Patricia finally spoke up. "Maybe," she said carefully, "Karen should think about getting a job. It might help her focus and understand the value of money." The room went completely silent. For a moment, Patricia thought maybe, just maybe, they would agree. But then Karen's face twisted in anger. "A job? You want me to work like you? Like some nobody?" Karen shouted, full of anger and disgust. Before Patricia could even answer, Karen burst into tears and ran upstairs, slamming the door so hard the whole house shook. Their parents immediately turned on Patricia. "How dare you?" her mother hissed. "Your sister is going through a terrible time, and you insult her like that?" Patricia was stunned. "I didn't mean it that way," she tried to explain, but they weren't listening. "Get out," her father said sharply. "Leave right now," her mother pointed to the door. "And don't come back until you can be supportive of your sister." Without another word, Patricia grabbed her purse and left. As she walked into her own apartment, her safe place, she felt a wave of emotions crash over her. Sadness at being pushed away by her family, anger at their endless favoritism, and, strangely, a feeling of relief. For the first time, Patricia clearly saw how toxic her family had been all these years. That fight with her parents was a turning point. She finally understood that no matter how hard she worked or how much she achieved, she would never be enough for them. Not compared to Karen. Instead of feeling sad about their unfairness, Patricia decided to focus on her own life. But the break in the family grew deeper. Karen's behavior got even worse. She refused to admit she had done anything wrong in her marriage and kept demanding her parents' full support. The financial pressure started to show. Her parents dipped into their savings and even sold some of their things to keep paying for Karen's expensive lifestyle. Patricia watched all of this from a distance, feeling both pity and frustration. She wanted to help, but she knew it would only make things worse. Her family wasn't ready to face the truth, and Patricia was no longer willing to hurt herself just to get their approval. As painful as it was, Patricia began to pull away from them. She had spent her whole life trying to earn their respect. Now she realized that respect was something they simply couldn't give. It broke her heart, but it also gave her the freedom to live for herself at last. While her family stayed trapped in the chaos of Karen's life, Patricia focused on building a life that truly belonged to her. For the first time, she felt peaceful, knowing that her worth didn't depend on their praise. In that peace, she found the strength to move forward. Patricia's chance to truly escape came through an unexpected opportunity. Her company held a yearly contest, and this year's prize was amazing, a fully paid trip around the world on a cruise. When Patricia's name was announced as the winner, she felt shocked and thrilled. For the first time ever, she had a chance to step away from work stress and her family's heavy expectations. But her parents' reaction wasn't supportive at all. "You're so selfish," her mother scolded when Patricia shared the news. "Karen is struggling, and you're running off to have fun around the world? How could you be so heartless?" Patricia took a deep breath, holding back the words she wanted to say. "I earned this trip," she said calmly. "I'm going, and I'm not giving it up." She packed her bags and turned off her phone, for the first time in years, truly choosing herself. Patricia boarded the cruise ship feeling a freedom she hadn't felt in a very long time. Every new place brought a fresh adventure, watching sunsets over the Mediterranean, exploring old ruins in Slovakia, and walking through busy markets in Europe. For the first time, She wasn't Patricia the responsible one, or Patricia the ignored daughter. She was just herself. The time away gave Patricia the clear thinking she had been needing. She realized that her family's approval didn't decide her worth. It was her hard work, her independence, and her strength that truly defined her, not their quick and shallow praise. When the cruise ended, Patricia came back home feeling fresh and stronger than ever. But her peace didn't last long. As she walked up to her apartment, she noticed something was wrong. Inside, the same chaos she had escaped months ago was waiting for her. Karen was lying on her couch, surrounded by shopping bags and empty food boxes. Karen barely looked up when Patricia came in. "Oh, you're back," Karen said casually. "I needed a change of scenery, so I used the spare key you had." Patricia froze. Her heart sank even more when she realized her car was missing from the parking lot. A panicked call to her parents gave her the ugly truth. "We sold it," her mother said like it was no big deal. Karen needed cheering up, so we used the money to take her shopping. For Patricia, this was the final straw. She knew she couldn't let her family's chaos control her life anymore. This time, she was ready to fight for her peace, and for herself. Patricia had always been the quiet, dependable one, the sister who stayed away from fights and worked hard to build her own path. But as she stood there, staring at the mess Karen made and thinking about how her parents sold her car without even asking, something inside her broke. All the years of frustration, hurt, and being taken for granted boiled up to the surface. This time, she wasn't going to stay silent. The next morning, she called her parents. "You had no right to sell my car," Patricia said, her voice shaking but strong. Her mother's cold answer stung. "We're family, Patricia. What's yours is ours. Stop being so selfish." Her father added. Karen needed cheering up. "You should understand that." But Patricia didn't back down. "No," she said, her voice even stronger now. "I've spent my whole life understanding, sacrificing, and being ignored. Not anymore. You crossed a line, and I'm done letting you take advantage of me." Without waiting for their answer, Patricia hung up the phone. She knew what she had to do next. She needed to take legal action. It wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about taking back her independence and setting boundaries her family couldn't ignore. Patricia hired a lawyer and filed a lawsuit against her parents for the value of her car. The process was tough. Talking about years of emotional manipulation and financial abuse in a courtroom was exhausting but also freeing. As expected, her parents were furious. They called her ungrateful, heartless, and said she was the one breaking the family apart. Karen also played the victim, accusing Patricia of being jealous and mean. But Patricia stayed strong. The evidence was clear, and in the end, the judge ruled in her favor. Her parents were ordered to pay her back, and they had to sell their house and move into a smaller apartment. The victory felt bittersweet. "You've ruined us," her mother said coldly the last time they spoke. But for the first time, Patricia didn't care. She had finally chosen herself over their approval. After the lawsuit, Patricia made the hard decision to cut all ties with her family. It wasn't easy, but it was the right choice. Free from their toxic behavior, she focused on building a life that truly belonged to her. With every step forward, she felt lighter, stronger, and more in control of her own future. That chapter of her life, the one filled with hurt and struggle, was closed. A new chapter had begun. Sitting by the window of her new, modern apartment, Patricia looked out at the Las Vegas skyline. The city lights sparkled against the night sky, a reminder of the life she had built, step by step, with strength and determination. The weight of her past no longer sat heavy on her shoulders. For the first time, she felt truly free. Her journey hadn't been easy. From years of living in her sister Karen's shadow to fighting for even the smallest bit of recognition, Patricia had learned one important lesson. Her worth was never tied to anyone else's approval. It was her hard work, her independence, and her courage that defined her. When she thought about her family now, she felt no anger. Instead, she felt a quiet acceptance. Walking away from them had been painful, but it was necessary to protect her own peace. Her life now was completely hers, free from anyone else's control. As she sipped her tea and smiled to herself, she knew she had earned this moment of peace. Her path hadn't been perfect or easy, but it was hers. And that made all the difference. The future felt bright, not because someone else said so, but because Patricia had finally learned to value herself.